Hello, good game. Welcome back, ghouls and goblins. I hope you're all having a magical day. Welcome to the vetting. It's Crimson Vow Spoilers Part 4. If you're looking to get my opinions on some of the earlier cards spoiled in the set, definitely check out those videos. I'll try to link them in the description below. And today we have a ton to get through. I've kind of been putting this off while I push into Mythic, which was flawless, milky smooth, version 7 coming your way soon. Make sure to like the video to show your support, join the community Discord, and let's spoil some of these new cards. All right, here we are. We left off with Weaver of Blossoms in the last video. And then as soon as I walked away from my computer, boom, here's a brand new Mythic for you guys to check out, right? It's always how it works. But it's a great way to start this video. Before I start, I'd like to excuse myself for my pronunciation. Let me know if I'm making any massive mistakes in the comments below, because I don't want to be making those mistakes all season, right? Henrika Domnathi, oh my god, it's going to be a long video, you guys. 4 mana, 1/3, legendary creature vampire with flying, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Each player sacrifices a creature, you draw a card, and you lose 1 life. Transform Henrika Domnathi. Oh, it's going to be a long Crimson Vow set indeed. The Infernal Seer, as the transformed version, is, also a legendary creature vampire. Flying, death touch, lifelink. You can pay 3. Each creature you control with flying, death touch, and or lifelink gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. This is a 3/4. I really like this. I think it's probably honestly playable. It just doesn't have haste. It really reminds me of Rankle. 3/3 right out of the gate. Got some cool shenanigans when it attacks. But that's not here. But what we do get is the the transformative side, which is pretty cool. This is an absolute bomb in limited because of the flying, right, and the triggers, but I think this is maybe playable. We'll see though. We'll see. Sanctify for 2, destroy target artifact or enchantment. You gain 3 life. Nothing new there. Deadly Dancer and the alluring suitor for 3 mana. When you attack with exactly 2 creatures, transform the suitor into the dancer. The dancer is a 3/3 with trample from 2/3. When this creature transforms into the Deadly Dancer, add 2 red mana until your end of turn. You don't lose it as steps and phases end. You can also pay 2 Deadly Dancer and another target creature. Each get +1/+0 until the end of turn. So basically, it's a 4/3 and something else gets buffed as well. Originally costing 3 mana, which is a little expensive, I'll admit. I don't know how I feel about that. The Belligerent Guest for 3 mana, 3/2 with trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token. Not too bad. The Rune-Bound Wolf for 2. It's a 2/2, and you can pay 4, tap it, dealing damage equal to the number of wolves and werewolves you control to target opponent. Oh my gosh, that's really good and limited. Into the Night for 4 sorcery. It becomes night. Discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards +1. An additional way to immediately make it night just with the spell, which is really good. Rather than not having to cast. Glorious Sunrise, like if you have the Brutal Cathar out, it's instead of not casting, you can literally make it nighttime while emptying your hand and refilling it in. It's pretty cool, and I'm sure there'll be other options with that as well, especially within the werewolf deck. Glorious Sunrise for 5 mana, an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose 1. Creatures you control get +1/+1, gain trample until the end of turn. You have my attention. Target land gains, add 3 mana until the end of turn. Draw a card. If you control a creature with power 3 or greater, gain 3 life. Wow. That's a good enchantment. That's really, really nice. If you can be reducing the cost of this enchantment, playing it for, maybe 3, even 4, I like it. Voltaic Visionary for 2 mana, a 3/1. We can tap it to deal 2 damage to ourselves, exiling the top card of our library, and we may play that card this turn, activating it only at sorcery speed, Sag. And whenever you play the exiled card with Voltaic Visionary, transform it into the Volt Charged Berserker. This is a 4/3 that cannot block. We have the Screaming Swarm, 6 mana, hashtag limited bomb, a 4/4, and it's an uncommon too, so you're going to find this really consistently. Whenever you attack with one or more creatures, target player mills that many cards. We can pay 3 to put it from our graveyard into our library, second from the top. Excuse me? Wow. Keep your eyes open for this while you're playing your limited games. Parasitic Grasp for 2, instant speed, cleave for 3. Dealing 3 damage to target human creature, you gain 3 life. If you cleave it, 3 damage to any target. Cool beans. Wandering Mind for 3, a 2/1 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. Whoa! And you may reveal a non-creature, non-land card all run from among them, putting it into your hand and putting the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, you guys. I just have fun. This is really good. A nice way to dig for your combo spells. A nice way to dig for your removal spells in a limited match, potentially. And it's a flyer, which is great to see. The Headless Rider for 3. This is a 3/1, and whenever Headless Rider or another non-token zombie you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. This is good. This is so good. I cannot even explain how good this is. No, I can't. I'll try my best. So we have the Faithless Champion, I believe the name is. It's the 1-drop zombie that gets bigger whenever you play another zombie on top of it. We have this on turn 1. Turn 2, we have Jadar, which will make a 2/2 zombie with decay on your end step if you don't have one. The decay zombie can attack. It can be sacrificed for a nice value. And then we have the Headless Rider. So whenever that original zombies like Shambling Ghast, things die like this, we can make a 2/2 zombie. So we're having a decay zombie in play every turn from Jadar. And then whenever a non-token zombie dies, like Shambling Ghast, for example, we're making another 2/2 zombie token. So the fact that we have multiple ways within mono black zombies to make zombie tokens, I feel is really, really good. This goes in the mono black aggro deck as far as I'm concerned. Constructed playable. Really good limited card if you have zombies. But yeah, just looking forward to having just a ton of zombies be made. And maybe this isn't even in mono black. Maybe it goes Dimir. And we make those zombies have flying, right? So really, really cool. Looking forward to playing with this Headless Rider a lot. I think that's an amazing card. Anyways, talking about amazing cards, the Muirhall Mimic and the Ghastly Mimicry. For 4 mana, a spirit, and you may have the Muirhall Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, either yours or your opponent's, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. Decent. Oh, you have a Coma in play? Me too! Right? Goldspan Dragon? Me too! I mean, targeting it wouldn't be great, but actually there is no target here, I don't think. This would not copy Goldspan. It wouldn't trigger the treasure as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. Yeah, would this or would this not trigger Goldspan's treasure ability? I don't think it would. Anyways, we can pay 5 to replay the Mimicry, and it's an enchant creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. If the Mimicry would be put into the graveyard from anywhere else, exile it instead. There's just so many places that this goes. For example, we just talked about the Headless Rider. Whenever a non-token zombie dies, create a 2/2. We could be making multiple copies of the Headless Rider, right? With the Mimicry. And then sacking gas, sacking even other copies of the Rider, right? Because there'll be multiple, so they'll trigger each other. Wow. The Mimicry, that's a good card. I really, really like that. That's going to see play. In my opinion, Zos. Brambleworm, limited bomb here for 7. 7/6 with reach and trample. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. We can also pay 3 to exile it from your graveyard, gaining an additional 5 life. Holy Toledo's. Dune fan much? Graph Reaver for 2 mana. Another zombie. Right? Another zombie. Ooh. This is a 3/3 with exploits. We can exploit Shambling Ghast to trigger the Headless Rider and the exploit effect. Whenever it exploits a creature, destroy target planeswalker. Not too shabby. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, deal 1 damage to yourself. And that's because it's a 3/3 for 2 mana. Good value there. Moving up, we have Old Rutstein. 3 mana, 1/4. When Old Rutstein enters the battlefield, or at the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. If a land card is milled this way, create a treasure token. If a creature card is milled this way, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If a non-land card is milled this way, create a blood token. Well, that's probably just a commander, but a really nice one. It's getting around treasure if it's a land, which helps you ramp anyways. If it's a creature, you get an insect, which is cool. And then if it's something else, a blood token for draw, which is, I'm fine with that. Spiked Ribsaw for 3 and equipment, +3/+3, equip for 3. And whenever equipped creature attacks, you may sacrifice a force. If you do, that creature gains trample until the end of turn. That's going to be really good in limited, right? You put this trample Ripsaw on your Bramble Worm and you go to town, right? It's going to be a 10/9 with trample. Woof. The Blood Hypnotist for 3, a 3/3, it cannot block, and whenever you sacrifice 1 or more blood tokens, target creature can't block this turn. This ability triggers only once each turn. It's good enough. Markov Purifier for 3, a 2/3 with lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step, if you gained a life this turn, you may pay 2. If you do, draw a card. I'll allow it. I don't mind that. The Reclusive Taxidermist for 2 mana. Human Druid, 1/2. It gets +3/+2 as long as there are 4 or more creature cards in your graveyard. And it's a mana stone, mana dummy, mana dork, whatever you want to call it. This is a nice card. This is really, really good. It's a 2 mana mana dork, which, is usually a 1/1 to tap for mana. Plus, it gets +3/+2 if there are 4 more cards in our graveyard, creature cards. When have you seen a mana dork potentially be a 4/4? Not this guy. Reclusive Taxidermist. Love it. Moving on, we have the new flyer here. Dream Chain Spirit for 3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose 1. Tap target creature, or target creature doesn't untap during its next untap step. So if something's defending, you tap it. If it's already tapped, you make sure it doesn't untap, right? That is absolutely incredible. Moving back here, and then back in again. The Skull Cleaver is zombie with exploit. When it enters, you can sacrifice, and whenever it does the exploit or sacrifice effect, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So good, and I can see us chaining these sacrifices and exploits together on top of that headless horseman, or whatever it was called. You know what I mean? And then we have the beloved Hive Heart Shaman. This is a good card, and it's a really good card. It may be in a combo deck. It's very good in limited, and that's kind of why I have the feeling that it's rare, is just so you couldn't stack it up in limited, because that would be too much. Whenever the Shaman attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card that does not share a land type with any land you control and put it into the battlefield, then you shuffle, right? So this is really good in a multicolor deck, a 5-color deck. You've got all of these, like a forest, a plain, all the 5 different land types, and that's going to be really good. Then we can pay 6 to create a 1/1 green insect creature token, putting X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control. Activate this only as a sorcery, right? Pretty cool, and I think, there's going to be some fun jank builds with this, making a ton of copies of the Hive Heart Shaman. Then it's attacking, you're pulling a ton of lands into play, and then you can make these massive insects as well, right? So, that seems pretty cool to me. Not groundbreaking. It's not going to change the meta by any means. Moving on, we have the Sawblade Slinger for 4 mana, 4/3. Whenever it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1. Destroy target artifact and opponent controls. Have it fight a target zombie and opponent controls. So that's going to be really good and limited because of all the zombies. Storm Chaser Drake for 2, a 1/2 with flying. Whenever it becomes a target of a spell you control, draw a card. Excuse me? This is an uncommon absolute heater. For 2 mana, it has flying and allows you to draw. Very, very, very good. Azorius Magecraft is going to scoop this right up. Tasty, because you're casting onto it. It gets bigger, it triggers your Magecraft, and you get to draw. It's just like, sign me up. Aruth, Tormented Prophet for 3 mana, a 2/4. And if you would draw a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library instead, and you may play those cards this turn. Really good. Doubling your draw, basically. Moving on, we have the Faithbound Judge for 3. This is a 4/4 with Defender, Flying, and Vigilance. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Faithbound Judge has 2 or fewer judgment counters on it, put a judgment counter on it. And as long as Faithbound Judge has 3 or more counters on it, it can attack as though it didn't have Defender. Disturbed for 7, bringing us to the Sinner's Judgment. Enchant player, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a judgment counter on Sinner's Judgment. Then if there are 3 or more judgment counters on it, enchanted player loses the game. You donezo. Really cool. So, right out of the gate, you think, oh, cool mono white card. But no, don't be fooled. Do not kid yourself. This has Defender. You're not attacking with it until turn 6 or turn 7. So it's like not good. Maybe in a mid-range deck to stop the aggro decks, right? Gets in the way, and then you can have it become your win con later on. Moving on to the Cemetery Desecrator, 6 mana, 4/4 with Menace. When it enters the battlefield or dies, exile another target card from a graveyard. When you do, choose 1. Remove X counters from target permanent, where X is the mana value of the exiled card. Decent. You can basically nuke a Planeswalker, right? Taking those loyalty counters off of it, which is decent. And then target creature an opponent controls gets -X until end of turn, where X is the mana value of the exiled card. So you can nuke Planeswalker or something, potentially. There's enchantments that get counters as well. And then we can nuke a creature with the -X, even if it has Indestructible. The Unhallowed Phalanx, probably the best card in the set, right? 5 mana, 1/13. It enters the battlefield tapped. Retching Throng for 2 mana. It's a 2/1, and when Retching Throng dies, you may search your library for a card named Retching Throng, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. That's actually pretty good. It's a zombie, so we can play it, exploit it, or sacrifice it and make extra zombies, get those value trains running, and be pulling them out one after the other so we can continually exploit them, right? Moving up the list, the Blood Crazed Socialite for 4 mana, 3/3 with Menace, and as it enters the battlefield, create a blood token. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice a blood token. If you do, it gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. Hungry Ridge Wolf for 2 mana, 2/2, as long as you control another wolf or werewolf. The Ridge Wolf will get +1/+0 and trample. A 3/2 with trample for 2 is not bad value, especially within a common slot, right? That's crazy. Dawnheart Disciple for 2, a 2/2, and whenever another human enters the battlefield under your control, the Disciple gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Again, fairly good for a common. Courier Bat for 3, a 2/2 with flying, and as it enters the battlefield, if you gained life this turn, return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. An amazing card. Very good and limited. The Moldgraph Millipede for 5, a 2/2. Oh, that's an expensive 2/2. Whenever the Millipede enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards, then put a +1/+1 counter on the Millipede for each creature in your graveyard total, not even just milled. So that actually could grow to be quite powerful. The Flourishing Hunter for 6, a 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to the greatest toughness among other creatures you control, so not itself. But again, that's a pretty big body and limited. Ancient Lumberknot for 4 mana, 1/4. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So, the Lumberknot, uncommon, and the Unhallowed, common, 1/13. It'll be a 13/13 when it's attacking if you have the Lumberknot. So that's something that you could take a look for in limited as well. The Huron of Hope for 4 mana, 2/3 with flying, and if you would gain life, gain that much life +1 instead. We can also pay 2 to give it lifelink until the end of turn. That's fun. Wash Away for 1, instant speed, counter target spell that wasn't cast from its owner's hand. Cleave for 3, just to counter target spell. Daybreak Combatants for 3 mana, 2/2 with haste. It enters the battlefield and will give target creature +2/+0 until the end of turn. Decent. Milita Rallier for 3 mana, 3/3. It cannot attack alone. And whenever it attacks, untap target creature, basically giving something vigilance. The Kezig Flame Breather for 2 mana, 1/3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the Flame Breather will deal 1 damage to each opponent. That's good. That sounds like a Thermo Alchemist that you don't even have to untap. Not even instances and sorceries, just non-creatures in general. So now you're including planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts, and like, you know, some stuff. You got some stuff included within this Flame Breather that the Thermal Alchemist does not have, which is like, that's a good card. So this is, like, I think strictly better than. Really cool to see. The Ballistia Watcher, 4 mana, 4/3. The Watcher deals 1 damage to any target for 3 mana and a tap as Daybound. Nightbound, 1 damage to any target, and a creature dealt damage this way cannot block this turn. Pretty cool stuff. However, you know, that 4 mana, 4/3 is pretty expensive. The 5/5 is nice, but, you know, wouldn't catch me playing this in Standard. The Lambolt, Wolf, Lamholt, Raccoon, Raconteur. Yes. A 2/4, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Lamholt, Raconteur deals 1 damage to each opponent. And then the Ravager, as a 4/4, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. That's actually not that bad. That's not that bad. We have the Circle of Confinement for 2 mana enchantment. Whenever it enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or less until the circle leaves the battlefield. Whenever an opponent casts a vampire spell with the same name as the exiled card, you gain 2 life. That's interesting. That's actually not that bad, especially in limited. Well, maybe not in limited, because they probably won't have 4 copies of the same. Yeah, that might just be a sideboard card, really. I don't know if the vampires get to be an issue. I mean, just the exile alone is good in limited, right? Any removal is good, but like this might. Imagine playing this with Silverquill Silencer. They can't play one of those cards. No, I'm sure that wouldn't be that good, but it's interesting. What is good is this Optimus Initiate, LOL. This is a 1-drop 1/2 with training. All I've ever wanted in a 1-drop for white. You can also pay 3 to remove 2 +1/+1 counters from among creatures you control to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Very, very good, because it's got training, so it's gathering +1 counters on its own. Plus, you know, Luminarch Aspirant can put those counters on it as well, right? So this is an ideal 1-drop for mono white right now. Good to see. Next up, we have the Stalker, and the other side of it, which I have no idea. A 3/3. You may cast the spell as though it had flash if you pay 2 more to cast it for 5. I don't like that. That's on Daybound. Nightbound is just a 6/3, right? Nothing else changes about it. And you can't cast. No, you can still cast the Nightbound side but it will just enter as this side, right? So you're still casting it with flash for 2 more, and it will still, if Nightbound, enter as this side. 90% sure. Fleeting Spirit for 2, 3/1. That's a pretty nice aggro card. We can pay 1 to exile 3 cards from your graveyard. Fleeting Spirit gains first strike until the end of turn. Ooh! We can also discard a card, to return Fleeting Spirit to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Discard a card, exile the spirit to return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the next end step. Wow! I'll allow it. So at any point, we can just discard a card to interrupt any removal. I like it. I like it a lot. The Cartographer's Survey for 4 mana. Look at the top 7 cards of your library at sorcery speed, putting 2 land cards from among them into the battlefield tapped and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Infestation Expert for 5 mana. This is a 3/4, and whenever the Infestation Expert enters the battlefield or attacks, create a 1/1 green insect creature token as the Daybound side. Nightbound side, 5/4, and whenever Infestated Werewolf enters the battlefield or attacks, create 2 1/1 green insect creature tokens, right? So doubling that token generation on the Nightbound side. We have the Restless Bloodseeker for 2 mana, a 1/3. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, create a blood token. Sacrifice 2 blood tokens to transform the Bloodseeker at sorcery speed. A 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, create a blood token. We can also pay 5. Each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. That is very, 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 very good in limited. Child of the Pack for 4 mana. 2/5, pay 4, create a 2/2 wolf creature, daybound, nightbound, trample, 5/5. Wow. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. That's all right. That's actually not terrible. It's nice art too. The Winged Portents, I don't even know, 3 mana. Draw a card for each creature with flying you control. 3 mana at instant speed, decent. We can cleave for 6 to get rid of the with flying. So, that's actually not that bad. Instant speed draw spells are always really, really nice. You're going to need creatures with flying though, but often Mono Blue Tempo has blue flyers. The Reclamation something, Splendid Reclamation for 4 mana, sorcery speed, to return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's great for a Ren commander deck. She's plussing all the time, putting those lands into the grave, and then you can just... Actually, no, the lands don't go to the grave. They go into your hand. So actually, I don't know where this would be good. Somewhere, I'm sure. Anyways, the Catilda Dawnheart Martyr for 3 mana. Flying, lifelink, protection from vampires. Catilda Dawnheart Martyr's power and toughness are each equal to the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. Disturb for 5. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has flying, lifelink, and protection from vampires. It gets +X/+X, where X is the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. If that creature would die or whatever, exile it instead. I like that, especially when we see this other spirit, right, within 2 drops, because I'm worried maybe there's not enough spirits, but, maybe mono white aggro shifts into a spirit build. We're going to have to wait and see. That's the end of November 3rd. Let's move into the 4th, which is actually today. So we have, first off, the Creepy Puppeteer for 4 mana. This is a 4/3 with haste, and whenever Creepy Puppeteer attacks, if you attacked with exactly one other creature, this combat, you may have that creature's base power and toughness become 4/3 until the end of turn. Magic itself, that's pretty good, if you ask me. I really like this card. If you're making a Fireblade Charger into a 4/3 that dies that turn, now it's like, that's a pretty, like a 1/1 into a 4/3 is massive boost, and if it dies, they're taking an additional 4 damage. I absolutely love it. I think the Creepy Puppeteer is a good card. Wedding Crasher on the backside of Wolfkin Outcast for 6 mana, 5/4. This spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a wolf or werewolf. Down from 6 to 4 as a 5/4. Good and limited. Nightbound, whenever Wedding Crasher or another wolf or werewolf you control dies, draw a card. That's even better in limited, right? That draw engine is amazing, especially on a 6/5 body. And it's an uncommon, so be sure to keep an eye out for that in your limited pools. Ava Bruck Caretaker for 6 mana. This is a 4/4 with hexproof. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. Daybound. Nightbound has a 6/6 with hexproof, giving other permanents we control hexproof as well. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Holy Toledo's, this Huntmaster is insane. Very expensive 6 mana, but that's fun. That's a lot of fun. Moving on, we have Jacob Hawken, Investigator, for 2 mana, legendary human advisor. We can pay 1, we can tap it to draw a card, then exile a card in our hand, face down. I play this as a trap card. You may look at that card as long as it remains exiled, and then you may pay 6. If you do, transform Jacob into the Theory, and at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at the cards as long as it remains in exile, and once during each of your turns, you may play a land or cast a spell from cards exiled by this permanent without paying its mana cost. It's expensive, right? You do have to, like, this is 2, you tap it to draw a card. That's really, really good, but you do have to exile face down, which means you're not actually getting card advantage unless you're able to transform this, which is going to cost 6 mana, and that's really expensive, but a cool card nonetheless. Moving on, we have Olivia's Attendants. This is a 6/6 for 6 with Menace, and whenever Olivia's Attendants deals damage, create that many blood tokens, and we can pay 3 to deal 1 damage to any target. Very, very interesting. I don't know how I feel about that. A little expensive for 6. The Cemetery Gatekeeper for 2 mana with First Strike as a 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, exile a card from a graveyard, and whenever any player plays a land or casts a spell, if it's the same type as the exiled card, the Gatekeeper will deal 2 damage to that player. Okay. I'll allow it. This is so good. 2 mana, 2/1, and you exile when it enters. If it's a creature deck and you exile the creature, every time they play a creature, they're taking 2 damage. Holy Toledos. That's a nice looking card here. We have the Catapult Captain on the backside of the Catapult Fodder. It's a 1/5 for 3, uncommon zombie, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures that each have toughness greater than their power, transform it. It's a 2/6. We can pay 3, tap it to sacrifice another creature. Target opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. Okay. That's not too shabby. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Nice and limited. Nice and limited. The Cobbled Lancer for 1 mana as a 3/3. What? Are you insane? This is an uncommon, or yeah, this is an uncommon. As an additional cost to cast the spell, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Shouldn't be too hard. We can pay 4 to exile the Lancer from our graveyard to draw a card. What? Okay. I don't even understand, man. Crawling Infestation for 3. I gotta move on, or I'm gonna get all hung up. An enchantment at the beginning of upkeep, you may mill 2 cards. Whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere during your turn, create a 1/1 green insect creature token, triggering only once each turn. The Griffwing Cavalry for 4 mana, a 2/2 with flying and training, which is nice. Whenever the cavalry attacks, you may pay 2. If you do, target attacking creature without flying gains flying. That's so good in limited. I've been saying that a lot today, I feel like. Markov Waltzer, 4 mana, 1/3 with flying and haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 2 target creatures you control each get +1/+0 until the end of turn. Not that bad. Could be better. It's a decent uncommon. We have Edgar Charmed Groom and Edgar Markov's Coffin, and now this is actually a lot of fun. For 4 mana as a 4/4, giving other vampires +1/+1. Already pretty good. When it dies, return it to the battlefield transformed as the Coffin, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white and black vampire creature token with lifelink and put a bloodline counter on Edgar Markov's Coffin. Then if there are 3 or more bloodline counters on it, remove those counters and transform it back into the Charmed Groom. Let's go. That's a lot of fun. The Sanguine Statuette I don't even know. For 2 mana, an artifact, and whenever the artifact enters the battlefield, create a blood token. Whenever you sacrifice a blood token, you may have the Sanguine become a 3/3 vampire artifact creature with haste until the end of turn. That's all right. That's all right. Moving on, we have the Blood Tithe Harvester, a 2 mana 3/2. Whenever it enters the battlefield, create a blood token. We can tap it to sacrifice it. Target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is twice the number of blood tokens you control. So this is a pretty good creature, and it's, doubling down as removal. We have up next the Panicked Spectator for 2 mana, Human Peasant. Whenever it or another creature we control dies, gain 1 life at the beginning of your end step. If you've gained 3 or more life this turn, transform it into a 3/5, which is pretty good. If you're getting a 3/5 in play for 2 mana, I'll allow it. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, gain 1 life. We can also pay 2 to give it Death Touch until the end of turn, which is really, really good. So this is a nice card. This is actually probably going to see some play in Constructed, and a very, very good card in Limited. I like that. That's good value for 2. Moving on, we have another rare red card, the Ill-Tempered Hermit. Human Werewolf. Whenever it is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target. That's pretty sick. And we can pay 2 to give it +2/+0 until the end of turn, all as the Daybound side. Nightbound, it's a 4/4, and whenever a permanent we control is dealt damage, it will deal that much damage to any target. So we go Daybound, dealing that damage if it itself is dealt damage. However, when it's flipped on Nightbound, whenever any of our permanents take damage, we're going to deal that much damage to any target. We can pay 2 to give it +2/+0 until the end of turn now. Same thing, which is really nice. So, Star of Extinction on top of the Pax Avenger is just going to win you the game. Stuff like that. The field wipes, the play this and then Cinderclad, I'm gonna crush the weak. That is going to be a lot of damage. If you have a nice field out, right? And you're wiping their field potentially as well. Moving on, we have the Bride's Gown for 2 mana and artifact equipment. Equip for 2. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. It gains an additional +0/+2 and has first strike as long as the Groom's Finery is attached to another creature we control, whether it be the same or different. The Hullbreaker Horror. Now, this is actually exciting. For 7 mana, 7/8 with flash. Can't be countered. Whenever you cast a spell, choose one. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand. Nice. And return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Nice. So this is like a good card, and I can just imagine someone casting Fading Hope or Divide by Zero while they have this in play and just having like a complete mental breakdown. We have the Lantern as a 1-drop. When it enters, exile target card from a graveyard. We can pay 1 to tap it, to draw a card and exile all cards from each graveyard. And then the Howling Moon for 3, an enchantment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target wolf or werewolf you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. I like this card. I think this is a good card for 3 mana, and it triggers at the beginning of your combat. So you're playing it on your upkeep, or your main phase, I should say, and then combat, you get creature buffed up, or you wait until their turn, and you're going to probably make that the 2/2 because they'll be second casting. Most other aggro decks are. Very good sideboard card, in my opinion, against the mono white. But I just think this is a good card for sure. The Unholy Officiant for 1 mana, 1/2 with Vigilance. You can pay 5 to put a counter on it. Meh. And then the Ordric Blood Cursed for 3 mana, 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, create X blood tokens, where X is the number of abilities from among Flying, First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance found among creatures you control. So, just throw on an Angel Fire Ignition, then play Ordric. You'll get the job done. Welcoming Vampire, which is really good. For 3 mana, a 2/3 with Flying. Whenever one or more creatures with power 2 or less enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card, triggering only once each turn. This is so good. A draw engine in mono white. It's a 2/3 with Flying as well, which is fairly good. So I like to see that. Then we have the Commander set booster cards, which I don't know if we should really go through them. We can touch on them for you guys if you're interested. These won't be in packs, right? This won't be in Arena. But, new cards coming out nonetheless. We have this Soulbound mechanic on almost all of them. So you may pair this creature with another unpaired creature. Then when either enters the battlefield, they remain paired for as long as you control both of them. And then, whenever one of the paired things dies, something will happen with each of these cards. So in this case, when this creature dies, you may return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of your next unstep. It's a 6 mana 4/4. I don't know about that. For 3 mana, a 1/4. Whenever this creature attacks, each opponent mills cards equal to its toughness. Doomweaver for 6, a 1/8 with reach. Whenever this creature dies, draw cards equal to its power. The Mirage Phalanx, 4/4. Whenever it attacks, create a token that's a copy of this creature, except it has haste and loses Soulbound. I think that's actually decent. The Thundering Nightmare for 5, a 3/3, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. That's actually fairly good. The Hallowhenge Overlord for 6. This is just a 4/4 with flash, and at the beginning of your upkeep, each creature you control, that's a wolf or a werewolf, create a 2/2. Whoa. For each creature you control, that's a wolf or werewolf, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token, which is going to, increase every turn because it creates a wolf, and then the next turn it's going to create an extra because of that original. Cool stuff. Umbrous Fear Manifest for 5 mana, 1/1. It gets +1/+1 for each card your opponent owns in exile. Decent. And whenever it or another nightmare or horror enters the battlefield under our control, target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a land. Decent, right? So let's give the refresh here. Do we have anything new? No, that's it. Favorite cards of today's video for me. I love this Welcoming Vampire. I think that is outstanding. You know, Blood Curse and Hallowing Moon are great, but they just don't meet the power level like maybe something like this Hullbreaker Horde does. Absolutely love that. This is pretty jank, but it's still neat with the dealing a bunch of damage to everything. Edgar is super duper cool because it comes back. Basically needs to be exiled. And then this 2-drop Vampire is absolutely insane. That yes, 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 yes. Loving that. You know, I think these 6-mana ones are too expensive. The Investigator and the Caretaker, just so much mana there, in my opinion. Anything else that really stood out to me? Oh, this 1-drop is incredible. Really liking that. And this Flame Breather is pretty cool as well. I don't like the Judge. I don't really care for the Desecrator. It's better than the Judge, though. The new Blue Flyer is really great, and the Honey Master seems to be a lot of fun as well. The Mimic is going to be busted, and the Headless Rider actually seems fairly competitive. I like that. And yeah, I think that's basically it. This is where we started. So those are kind of my favorite cards of today's session. Of course, if you're looking forward to seeing some of the other cards spoiled, I've got 3 other videos. This is number 4 of us breaking down all these cards. And I think we've got about 70 cards left. So maybe one more video, part 5, to wrap things up. And then we're into the theory crafting, making new decks for Crimson Vow's release on November 11th, which is really exciting. Cannot wait to be playing with some of these new cards. And another quick reminder, these are not going to be in Crimson Vow. Well, they are, but not in the packs we'll be opening, nor will they be available within Arena. Just what we took a look at earlier. I just wanted to finish on those. So let me know your favorite card in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Have a magical day. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.